Breaking Bridget. California vaccine mandate.
I've got to get out of this state.
So Bridget already did a rant about this in our live stream this week.
It was a real-time rant.
And it was like when she was all fired up about it and just like going crazy. And then the Sarah Silverman impression alone is worth tuning in for.
The price of admission.
Uh-huh.
But we'll just do a quick rundown. LA County's voting next week on mandates that are the strictest in the country. They will basically make it so that you need a vaccine passport or vaccine proof of vaccination to go anywhere indoors, aside from like grocery stores and hospitals and places where it's probably illegal to exclude people. But gyms, bars, restaurants, nail salons, hair salons, anywhere that you go. And what bothers me about, there's so much that bothers me about this. And then Gavin Newsom also mandated it for K through 12, which is, again, strictest mandate in the country. By the way, California is just the preview of coming attractions for the rest of the country. They test out all this California before they take it into the places that will accept it. So if you think you're going to be immune to this in your city or wherever you live, unless you're in like Florida, you aren't. It's coming to you eventually. Just like so many of our stupid policies. I just don't understand how all these fucking idiots who are I'm vaccinated, just so we can, for people who don't know or might be tuning in for the first time. I don't understand how these fucking idiots, and forgive me for calling them idiots, screaming for a vaxport, can't understand how this will disproportionately hurt the people that they ostensibly claimed to be helping and all for during the pandemic, during Black Lives Matter, during all the protests. Like, what the happened to diversity, equity, and inclusion in this policy that's going to hurt the poor, mostly, and the working class? I don't get it. Can someone explain this to me? Like, who do you think, when you start policing this and handing out tickets, are going to be the people who suffer the most for this? Hint, it's not the people who are sitting at home with their nice, cushy jobs that they can do from their freaking pajama jobbers. Carol Markowitz, love that term. It's not going to be them.
No.
It's going to be people who worked through the whole pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
And many of them have natural immunity. And this is the reason I'm like, I don't really get conspiratorial until the natural immunity thing comes up. And that's when I'm like, yeah, this is all about money.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a money grab. Because why doesn't natural immunity count? So many of these populations that have decided not to get vaccinated worked through the whole pandemic in environments where they were exposed and probably have natural immunity. There's millions of Americans, 10 million Americans got COVID.
Mm-hmm.
There's millions of Americans who have natural immunity. There's multiple studies that show it's just as robust as the vaccine. Rand Paul went off this week about this because the natural immunity thing, the fact that it's not included and that you need to have a vaccine, that is very suspicious to me.
Mr. Becerra, are you familiar with an Israeli study that had 2.5 million patients and found that the vaccinated group was actually 7 times more likely to get infected with COVID than the people who had gotten COVID naturally?
Senator, I'd have to get back to you on that one. I'm not familiar with that study.
Well, you think you might want to be if you're going to travel the country insulting the millions of Americans, including NBA star Jonathan Isaac, who have had COVID, recovered, look at a study with 2.5 million people and say, well, you know what? It looks like my immunity is as good as a vaccine or not. And in a free country, maybe I ought to be able to make that decision. Instead, you've chosen to travel the country calling people like Jonathan Isaac and others, myself included, flat earthers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That like really triggers all of my resistance to all of this, to the mandates, to the pressure to get them, and it makes my conspiratorial brain go crazy. So if you're somebody who is already hesitant and maybe already had COVID, why are they, like that guy, the basketball player Isaacs, who had the amazing speech this past week?
I've had COVID in the past, and so our understanding of antibodies, of natural immunity has changed a great deal from the onset of the pandemic, and is still evolving. With my current age group and physical fitness level, it's not necessarily a fear of mine. I don't believe that being unvaccinated means infected, or being vaccinated means uninfected. You can still catch COVID with or without having the vaccine. Loving your neighbors, not just loving those that agree with you or look like you or move in the same way that you do. It's loving those who don't.
He has had COVID, and everybody's calling them flat earthers if you don't get the vaccine, even if you've had COVID. Why are you shaming people who had this and have natural immunity? Why aren't we testing to see how many people have natural immunity in America? We might be closer to herd immunity than we even think. It just breaks my brain, too, because it's like, yeah, go off about diversity and inclusion, you fucking clowns, when you're excluding people from these things. It makes me realize it's not about race. It's all about power, and it's all about just going where the power is. How do you go from America is a systemically racist country down to its core to trust the government implicitly, take this mandatory medical experimental vaccine, and don't question anything? Like, I don't understand that narrative whiplash. It hurts my brain. How do you go from that to just trust the government, never question anyone? Because of who's in charge, because of politics, because of power, because it's not about anything other than power. It's about dividing us. It's not about race. If they actually cared about the people that they say they care about, they would realize that this is going to discriminate against those populations the most. They're the populations that are in LA County the least vaccinated. Mm-hmm. It drives me insane. Where the fuck is BLM now? I think they actually are starting to protest. This is like something that's actually racist. Mm-hmm. A policy that is racist and will hurt these populations. My brain is going to explode. This is a state where you can like go steal $800 worth of stuff from a store, but only if you're vaccinated.
Yeah.
And people will be like, that's not true. There's videos of people doing it.
I've worked every single day, 40 hours a week, this whole pandemic. And then I go in and see that, and it's disheartening.
The society is completely breaking down, but yet we're mandating all these vaccines. I feel bad because people were like, nothing says a rational argument, like calling everyone f***ing idiots. I'm like, yeah, I don't care. I'm not trying to be rational here. It is frustrating to me because there's such a cognitive dissonance between those two things. And I just don't think it's fair to populations, particularly the working class, who worked through this whole pandemic and delivered everyone's food and made sure that everybody could stay in their little f***ing bubbles. Like, the nannies never stopped working in LA. The gardeners never stopped working. The delivery people never stopped working.
Yeah. Hospital workers weren't getting fired.
Nope. No, that's the other thing. They're firing all these hospital workers.
Garbage men never stopped working.
Police, frontline workers. Yeah.
We were calling them all heroes a year ago.
And now they're like flat earthers. It makes me be like, I wish I could get unvaccinated.
Take it out. Take it out.
It makes me want to get unvaccinated. Just as like, and some of it is defiance, obviously, and I have to check myself on that. But I do think this is creepy because the goalposts keep moving. It was like, if you get the shot, then we won't need masks. But we still need masks, and now you need the shot. And then it's like, if in order to be considered vaccinated, Fauci just this week was saying that now you need a booster. Like, and then they're like, oh, now you're going to have a pill. I'm not taking a fucking pill every day. I don't even take Tylenol when I have a headache because I'm so resistant to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Merck is coming out of the pill.
Merck and Pfizer now they're calling
you need
it
to take every day.
Well, they're calling it now for the vaccine hesitant. The joke is that it's quote unquote Pfizer-mectin because it's an antiviral pill similar to what ivermectin is.
And like the the monoclonal antibodies.
That can't be good for you, but also again a money grab.
This has just always been about rich people being able to go back to Soul Cycle. They don't actually care who this affects.
No.
That's the problem. The people who are saying, like, we want the vaccine passport do not care who this affects. No. And it will affect these populations. Like, take your BLM. In this house, we believe science, which you don't because you believe there's 69 genders. Take down your sign that you care about these people because you don't care about these people. If you knew anything about the statistics, you would know that these stupid mandates and policies are affecting them the most. They're not going to be able to go to restaurants, nail salons, and you're fucking okay with this? Right. You're full of shit. You're a hypocrite and you're full of shit.
It's like defund the police and put all that money towards a special vaccine enforcement task force.
Oh, yeah. Wait until these fucking police forces figure out that they can actually get some funding to enforce this shit. When people say, like, you need to push back against the right and they're poison and the GOP is, like, anti-truth and they are tyranny. Okay, yeah, I've called them out for that many times during the whole Trump administration. I wrote a whole piece about how there's creeping authoritarianism on both sides, and this is an example of it. And I'm sorry if you can't see it, and they keep moving the goalposts, and you justify it. I want to know people who are pro-vaccine passport or pro-vaccine mandate, What is your rationale for not including natural immunity? When I ask people this question, no one has a good answer. There's no, because there is no good, this isn't science. It's not about science. It's about control. And people need to fucking push back. And everyone's afraid. People are just afraid to push back against it. And I don't blame them because they'll lose their job. They'll be shunned from and shamed from their friend groups, the way people talk about it in this dehumanizing language. And I'm not trying to minimize the fact that we have lost 700,000 people to COVID. That is a lot of people, a lot of which are the communities that are disproportionately affected by everything. Like, remember Madonna in the bathtub? Like, this is a great equalizer. No, it's not.
No, it's not.
No, it's not. And now the same people who are scared of the government and maybe hesitant and have their reasons for not getting it or already have natural immunity are going to be punished by mandates too, on top of suffering the consequences of COVID even worse. People should be able to make a choice. This is not okay. It's a class war. That's what this is. And they're going to try and divide us all and say this is about race. This is not about race. The natural immunity thing is like the most unsettling thing.
Because it's illogical.
Yeah.
And
that's where you're like, oh, this is about power and money.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.